Monday. Where's your next move? Well, we're waiting. The Browns made 4 trades over the last 3 days, 2 of which added key players to their offense. On Friday, it was Jarvis Landry, who led the league in receptions last season. Cleveland also traded for quarterback Tyrod Taylor. And if you combine those 2 players with Josh Gordon, the Browns offense appears to be much better. So here we go. Overreaction Monday. No team has been more active over the past week or so than has the Cleveland Browns. And so I say this, Shefty, I'll turn to you. The Browns will make the playoffs. Overreaction? Not an overreaction.
I think it's an overreaction. Listen, they're on the right track right now. They've done all the right things. They have changed the culture, begun to change the culture, and send the message to everybody in the league that they now are serious, that these free agents should consider Cleveland. They made 4 trades in 24 hours. I'm not ready to say they're going to the playoffs, but I think they're on their way to going to the playoffs. It just might not be right now.
I mean, overreaction has to be the answer here. They're 0-16, 1 in 31 over the past 2 years, which is almost like you have to try to be that bad over a prolonged 2-year stretch. Maybe it's because of the coaching. Maybe it's because of the lack of talent. Maybe it's both that's taken place over the past 2 years. But they certainly have accounted for the lack of talent, at least to a degree so far. Stabilized the quarterback spot a bit with Tyrod Taylor. Infuse the wide receiving group with some talent in Jarvis Landry, new offensive coordinator in Todd Haley. Things are on the right trajectory, but I would think 4 wins is a nice step up for them this year.
Well, it's 4 more than last time.
So would I. And you know what? I would question whether or not they've changed the culture. They maybe have changed the culture in the way they're doing business. They may be attracting players now that people, from a football playing standpoint, respect. But we don't know what kind of teammate Jarvis Landry is going to be here. We don't know how this isn't a free agent sign, but we don't know how Josh Gordon is going to be this year. Yep. We don't know how Tyrod Taylor is going to play in this offense. We have no clue. So, yeah, they've gone out and done some things that look good on paper. There's no question about this. I've been through this a bunch of times. I know what it's like for it to look good on paper. We'll see. It is an overreaction to say they're going to make the playoffs because there's still a lot of work to be done here.
Well, if recent history is any indication, it is, in fact, an overreaction. Thank you, Evan Kaplan, our crack researcher, because the other 2 teams to go 0-16 in a season, that was 2008 with the Lions. Detroit won just 2 games the following season. Both of the teams who went 0-16 won just 2 games the following season. Here's a look quickly at what the Browns will face via free agency and the draft. Despite all the trades, they were able to hang on to their 5 picks in the first 2 rounds of the draft. They have 2 picks in round 1, 1 and 4 overall. The 4th time they have the first pick in the common draft era. And prior to the deals, they had the most cap space in the league. Adam Schefter.
Well, Wendy, we started the show mentioning the fact that the Cardinals are releasing Adrian Peterson, the Dolphins are planning to release Ndamukong Suh, and the Kansas City Chiefs are now releasing Tamba Ali, a big pass-rushing veteran there in Kansas City who's made a lot of plays for that franchise. The Chiefs looking to save some money. They're going to be releasing here Tamba Ali, another name in the mix.
$1 million roster bonus due for Tamba on Wednesday if he's on the roster at 4 p.m. The catalyst for this franchise for so long, they want to get younger amongst their edge rushers.
That's exactly it. Look, they want to get younger and faster at all 3 levels of this defense. The general manager there, Brett Veach, has made that a point. They need to get some speed. They need to get youth. They need to get playmaking ability. That's what you're going to see them try to do this entire offseason.
Again, you can expect these kind of moves over the next 48 hours or so in advance of the league year, which begins on Wednesday, March 14th. All right, we go back to the Cleveland Browns because, as I mentioned, speaking of these moves, they've been nothing but active in Cleveland. I say this on Overreaction Monday. Adam Schefter, Browns should draft Saquon Barkley first overall.
Wendy, Saquon Barkley is probably the best player in this draft, and this is a complete overreaction. The Cleveland Browns changed their front office with the idea that they're going to go out and draft a quarterback. And I know from the moment they went out and traded for Tyrod Taylor, a lot of people wondering, well, does this now mean they're going to go Saquon Barkley? The acquisition of Tyrod Taylor does nothing to impact what that team is going to do at number 1. The new front office was brought in to identify, find, and draft a quarterback. It's still going to do that, I believe. And I think the Browns take a quarterback at the top of the draft. They're not going to get cute again. They're not going to wait and see if another player gets picked there or the spots before they come up at 4. I think they're taking a quarterback at 1 again.
If John Dorsey is going to actually follow his board, as he says he always does, and he stays true to his board, I'd love to hear the discussion that says there's a quarterback in this draft that you would rank ahead of Saquon Barkley.
Quarterbacks have a higher value, though.
But that's not the point. That's not the point. So you're artificially then going to push a quarterback up higher because you want to justify taking him number 1 overall. And that's a recipe for disaster in my estimation. At 4, there may be the quarterback sitting there that ultimately they want may be the best for them anyway. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't take Saquon Barkley, but he's the best player in this draft. He will probably be the best player on most people's boards. I mean, it may be debatable with some other guys, okay? But I just don't believe that they have to take a quarterback with the first overall pick. And that's not to say that they won't take one, because at number 4, I still think there's going to be somebody sitting there that ultimately, I believe, may wind up being the best quarterback in this draft.
So not an overreaction, though I think should is the operative word, but I guess could, should, may, might, all of the above.
If he's number 1 on their board,
right,
then they should take him.
Then they should take him. Okay, yeah. So not an overreaction. Field, tiebreaker.
I think it is an overreaction. Here's the reason why, is I hear people saying, well, you can take Saquon Barkley first and then take one of the core 4 quarterbacks, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, and also Baker Mayfield at number 4 overall. That's presuming that you value those players equally. And just because on the outside it's difficult to decipher a clear-cut number 1, no team in the NFL is going to equally evaluate all 4 of those quarterbacks and say, hey, you know something? Whichever one falls in our laps, we're totally fine with. The Browns are going to have a preference, and I totally I'm with Lewis, and this is the clear-cut best player in the draft in Saquon Barkley, but for a team that is still starved for a quarter century to find a quarterback, you don't have a choice. I wouldn't be surprised if when
it's been a long time in Cleveland.
Well, that being said, though, we don't know how they stack the quarterbacks then.
No, we don't, and we won't know.
So if the guy who, theoretically in a mock draft would go off as the 4th best, as number 4, the quarterback number 4 in this draft, if he's number 1 for them, why wouldn't you take someone other than the quarterback at number 1?
Probably the fear of somebody else, just the fear of, hey, we don't know that someone else might take it, which is
that's true. It's just that, I mean, in my experience, every time that you artificially push people up to justify taking them, so when an owner comes in the room and says, okay, we're taking him number 1, why? Because he's the guy who's sitting at the top of the board and he's not that guy. A lot of times that comes back to get you. It just does. We'll see what they do. There's no question they need a quarterback. I'm just saying.
There's no debating that. We can sit here till tomorrow.
I'm just saying that it's to me, it would be easily justifiable for them to pick.
Again, the Browns busy over the past few days. They've got 1 and 4. In the first round. Adam Schefter again.
Well, we keep interrupting our discussions, but the moves keep coming in, and they're going to keep coming in throughout the course of this NFL Live. The Miami Dolphins, who are planning to release Ndamukong Suh, have just released Lawrence Timmons, the linebacker, the former Steeler who went AWOL before the first game last year. There was a question about him. Now the Dolphins, in that culture-changing mode, have made the move. They're releasing Lawrence Timmons, so another move for the Miami Dolphins.
Again, we referenced some of Miami's moves with Jay Ajayi and Jarvis Landry trying to shift the culture there. We expect Ndamukong Suh to be released as well. Jeff Darlington reporting that could come as early as today. This will keep coming, and that's what we're here for.